Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Now look, what I do on this channel is expose hypocrisy, but I have to admit I have to be fully honest here. In a certain way, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite myself. I'm constantly ragging on all of these Democrats for their insane levels of hopium during the last 12 months of complete Democrat disaster. Well, I have to admit, folks, I definitely fall prey to hopium myself quite often. I'm not gonna lie, you might call me an eternal optimist. I tend to get a little bit excited and a little bit hopeful, and sometimes too hopeful. I've made a lot of predictions and I have a track record of generally over-predicting. I do this consciously because I'm not 538 or some polling outlet, and I just see political trends and I get excited over them. But here's where I'm getting at. In some of my most optimistic predictions, I've talked about the electoral map switching. I've talked about generational change in the electoral map. I've spoken about a lot of different states, but probably my most aggressive predictions have been the state of New Mexico and Nevada. Well, folks, it might not have been hopium after all. This time, I might have actually been right. We've seen 20+ point shifts away from the Democrats in southern Texas. Well, what if I told you that we might be seeing a similar trend in Democrat stronghold New Mexico? Nancy Pelosi's worst nightmare continues to become a reality. So let me show you guys exactly what's going on. Let's get into it. All right, folks, take a look at this. The most recent poll from Mark Ronchetti, New Mexico's internal polling data, suggests something stunning. 2022 New Mexico governor race. Mark Ronchetti, the Republican primary winner, boasting a very healthy, very strong 46% of the vote, and the Democrat incumbent, Michelle Lujan Grisham, 1 point behind at 45%. And this is from the polling outlet Public Opinion Strategies, June 11th to June 14th poll with 600 likely voters. That is huge. Folks, a Republican president hasn't won the state of New Mexico since 2004, and they haven't elected a Republican governor since 2014. And of course, what we need to focus on specifically is the shift. Mrs. Michelle Lujan Grisham, the current Democrat governor of the state, won in 2018 by a whopping 14 percentage points. Mrs. Grisham beat Steve Pierce by 100,000 votes at 398,000 to 298. And here's the electoral map or county results for the 2014 election, when a Republican won the state compared to the 2018 results where the Democrat won. A stark difference. The second map looks like what you might expect from the state of New Mexico, especially considering over the last election cycles. Basically since 2008, since Obama, Democrats have won by 10+ percentage points on average. Joe Biden won the state by 11. Hillary Clinton won the state by 8, with Gary Johnson on the ticket taking some votes from either candidate. And Barack Obama won by 15 percentage points against John McCain and 11 points against Mitt Romney. Well, now things seem to be a little bit different. Now, of course, this is an early internal poll, so it's not 100% accurate, but in many cases, internal polling data has been more accurate than some of these other so-called neutral polling outlets. I mean, we saw this in the 2016 election when Donald Trump's campaign was doing internal polling data that was showing a completely different story, a completely different image than what every mainstream polling firm was predicting. And who was right? And Donald Trump's internal polling data, as well as a couple other outlets, in the end were right. And this video isn't to say that New Mexico is going red, because gubernatorial elections and House elections are a whole lot different than presidential elections, but what it continues to confirm is one very important factor, that there is a red wave, a shift in voting patterns, and it's so widespread and so powerful that it's even affecting blue states. Democrat gains from the Obama days are being wiped out. The 2008 election changed the electoral map and election analysis basically for the next decade and a half. Well, we might be at another inflection point as things start to turn around and states start to shift. It started in 2016 and it continues to expand. For instance, the state of Iowa. This is a state that Donald Trump has essentially turned into a Republican stronghold. Let's continue to look at voter registration patterns. Iowa voter registration advantage. In 2008, Democrats had a 100,000 voter registration lead. Fast forward to June 2022, and registered Republican voters now outnumber Democrats by 65,000. This is a net gain for the GOP since 2008 of 171,000 voters. Now let's move over to Nevada, which is trending red in incredible fashion. fashion, Nevada voter registration advantage, November 2020, Democrats had a nearly 90,000 voter registration lead. Now in May 2022, that lead has shrunk down to a Democrat lead of 59,000. This means that Republican voter registration is outpacing Democrats by nearly 30,000 voters in 2 years. And this is in a very small state like Nevada. 30,000 voters is significant. In a bigger state, that number could be like 300,000. Not to mention independents are splitting for Republicans at like a 60 to 40, 70 to 30 split. In other words, Democrat leads, at least the Democrat lead that they have on paper, is shrinking like we've never seen before. Let me update you guys on one more. North Carolina voter registration in 2012, there were 814,000 more Democrats registered in the state than Republicans. Today, there's only 285,000 more Democrats than Republicans. That means the GOP has gained 530,000 voters in the last 10 years. This is what we're seeing, folks. It's two things. Red states are getting redder. Republican strongholds, Republican bastions of freedom and patriotism are becoming increasingly more and more conservative and more loyal to the Republican Party each and every single year. Democrat states, we're seeing the exact opposite. Democrat leads are shrinking. The Obama honeymoon phase is over, and nearly every single state is trending rightward, with only a few exceptions like Colorado, for instance. Even in deep blue states like New Jersey, we're seeing Democrats lose their voter registration lead. It's not as significant as other states, but it's still proving the same trend. And even in the 2021 election cycle, where the state of Virginia flipped Republican, the same thing almost happened in New Jersey. A lot of people seem to forget that, but Democrat stronghold New Jersey almost voted a Republican into office. The Democrat candidate winning by, I think, 1 percentage point. It's clear, it's undeniable that what we are seeing right now is the formulation of an incredibly powerful red wave, some may say red tsunami, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger thanks to Joe Biden, and more specifically thanks to the issues. Take a look at this little segment right over here from Fox News the other night.
One issue, back to Katie, on the issues that will drive the November election. Yeah. And I think in the Fox News poll, they said there were certain issues such as inflation. The Republicans win by 19%, Katie. Border security, plus 19. Crime, plus 13. Foreign policy, plus 8. And preserving democracy, I think it's plus 1. Do the Republicans have the right issues?
Republicans are winning on every single issue because of the age-old question of what Ronald Reagan asked, right? Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And the answer right now, with 91% of the country concerned about inflation, 90% of the country affected by gas and grocery prices, of course you're not better off than you were 4 years ago. And so
Republicans are winning on every single important issue. And that right there is important for a general election. But it's even more important for a midterm election. It's more important down ballot. People tend to vote more conservatively down ballot. And considering those numbers on the issues, a failing and flailing Democrat presidency, and with the midterms right around the corner, it might be a perfect storm for the greatest electoral blowout of my lifetime. Hopefully that isn't hopium. And hopefully, I'm right. That's what I got for you guys, though. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.